gonna sing his song. All the little birds on Jaybird Street love to hear the robin go tweet, 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 rockin' robin, tweet, tweet.
Welcome to Life is Good. I'm Heather McEwen, your ever-loving hostess, and I am in Newport now, and you're going to be introduced to two amazing people, and that does not include me. We have here Joe Infantino, who just won, well, he set a record swimming the entire length of Lake Memphre. Some people will do anything to get into Canada, and apparently this man wanted to work hard to do it. And Melissa Burroughs, who's going to be sitting here, who is his beloved, who's also a distance swimmer, and I have known you for 3 years now. And I'm just so proud of these young people who have come here, rented a place, train here in the summer, and work remotely so that they can live in Vermont and train hard here and set records. So off I go. Enjoy the interview. If you have questions about these people, just yell. I'm sure I'll hear it. Maybe I won't, but I'll make up for it. See you in a minute. I'm really proud of you because I was a distance swimmer, but I've never done more than 6 miles. And what is your distance now?
I'll do anything from 6 miles to 10 miles usually.
Okay, and how about you?
Apparently now it's 25.
Is that the longest you've ever done?
That's the longest I've ever done.
Such a slacker.
Yep. I've only just caught up to Melissa now.
Oh, really? Which one of you is faster?
Oh, he's much faster. But if he swims for 7 hours and then I start swimming with him, which I did the other day, then I can keep up, no problem.
Did you do the last, well, then if you, how many hours did it take you totally? I know you beat the record by 11 minutes.
Yes, and it was 11 hours and 16 minutes.
I was at the border today waiting to get through with a bunch of other bikers. I was a solo biker, but there's a group of 40 in front of me, and they had heard of you. I said, I have to get through the border because I have to get home and take a shower because I'm interviewing the fellow who just set the record for the shortest swim in Lake Memphre. And they said, oh, that Joe person. How long did it take him? And I was in a sugar lack. You know, I hadn't eaten the last half hour, and I was really hungry, wasn't thinking straight. And I said 25 hours, but it was 11 minutes faster than the last guy. It was 25 miles. It's like, so I have to stop those people next time I see them and correct my mistake.
We'll keep an eye out for them.
11 hours. And you swam the last 6?
No, I only got to swim for an hour. Those are the rules.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can only swim an hour at a time as a buddy swimmer, and then you get hauled back in the boat.
Have you ever had buddy swimmers before?
My first time, but we trained together all the time, so it was no different.
Really?
Yeah.
It must be nice to be taken for granted, Melissa. I only have an hour.
Very helpful.
Wait, give me an hour of your time and, my God. And of course there's no talking during this time.
No.
A lot of people don't understand the psychology of distance. And it is 40% physical and 60% emotional, and I would probably put more into the emotional physical than the physical. Yeah. Because after you reach a certain point in distance, how do you feel? I mean, what is your point of not only no return, but out-of-body experience?
That's a great question. I mean, I hit it probably at 7 hours, which was when I knew it was my longest swimming ever. And the feeling is, I just looked at the lights on the boat, tried not to think.
It's a self-hypnosis thing. I'm asking you. It is a self-hypnosis thing, I think.
Yes.
When I used to race long distance running, 62 miles in 24 hours, things like that, there was a point somewhere between 31 and 35 miles where I would have a complete disconnection from my body. And that is the grace of the universe, because your body just does the work, but your mind finishes the race. What exercises do you use, even in training? Is it just goal setting that says, I can do this, I have to do this, I want to do this, or is there something else?
A lot of it is goal setting. A lot of it is competing with Melissa, trying to beat her in the pool.
The dream, the impossible dream! Right.
A lot of it's the community too, I think, for both of us. We have all these friends now that do all these crazy things, and we want to be part of the community, and everybody is so, we all learn from each other, and you learn different tricks for how you keep your mind focused on something else. We had a couple of friends that do long distance running and long distance swimming that were contacting me while I was on the boat and being like, tell Joe to think about, plot revenge against someone he is mad at, or tell him to, say some prayers for the children in the children's hospital. We were getting all kinds of recommendations. I don't know if you took any of them, but we were
I would never give an
able to tell him.
athlete any information once he starts the competition. I would never add any new things to think about next time, before the next time.
Yeah.
But I think you have that in your mind before you start.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's nice to have friends and all that stuff. I've noticed in a long distance community that competition is, well, there's usually someone at the end of the race who was in the race. If they finish first, they wait for you.
Yep.
It's not like go out there and swim 50 meters, fly and finish and then go to the locker room. It is a community of support.
Mm-hmm.
It's kinder than a short race, because everybody understands the emotional heart that goes into it. And I would say, seeing as you train in Vermont, where else have you swum distance? And can we compare the audience?
We do most of our open water swimming in Annapolis, Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
But we've also done Chattanooga, Tennessee, Lake George, New York. I don't know, where else have we been?
Well, we live in North Carolina, so
we do that
a lot of training there. We've been kind of up and down the East Coast, but we haven't ventured as far as some, though we would like to do that.
Like, where would you like to go?
There's some beautiful swimming in Europe. I'm trying to convince Joe that he wants to do the English Channel now, but I don't know that he wants to.
It's pretty dirty. Take the channel.
For me, it's the salt.
Yeah.
You don't like salt, or you do like salt?
I do not like
I
salt.
do not like salt, no.
Not that much.
I mean, if I had a salt lick on my table, my tongue would be around that thing all day. But don't put it in my eyes.
Yeah.
And yeah, they say something for the buoyancy, but I've never gotten anything out of that at all.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
Yeah.
But the channel, that would be a nice swim for you. And there are other people at Phil White's and Kathleen's that have done that. Young kids.
Yeah.
Yep.
Our neighbors, the Rivards.
Really?
Yeah, they've done all kinds of swims, including the English Channel.
Really?
Yeah.
It's like cliche now. It used to be the old, I'd like to swing the Bering Strait when in the winter. No, I think next for you now. As far as food,
Mm-hmm.
when I was a distance swimmer and doing the other things, I was 20 pounds heavier than I am now. You can't be a super thin person and do distance. I lost all my strength really when I lost my swimming muscles. I can do other things, but what you have now is two healthy bodies. And I used to have 4,000 calories a day when I was doing that. How many, what do you do to keep your weight on? Because it takes a lot.
Peanut butter.
Yeah, me too.
We couldn't live together if one of us was allergic to peanut butter because we subsist on it.
Yeah.
I don't.
That's exactly what I'd have done.
I don't track anything, but I just eat until I'm not hungry. And
Yeah.
that often goes until like 11 p.m.
Yeah. How many carbs versus fat?
I'd say it is heavily on the carbs, especially in the last month.
I love carbing up.
It's great. But the peanut butter probably adds a good amount of fat. We tried more protein this year. It might have helped. We did good, so.
And how do you get your protein?
Powders, whey, protein powder, yogurt, chocolate milk.
Basically, you eat everything I eat, except I have to cut back on the intake of fat because of something that happened to me when I was flying, and to the rest of us when we were flying. A lot of us have livers that can emulsify fat now. We don't know what causes it in the aircraft, but it happens.
Huh.
So now I have peanut butter powder, and it's like, oh, I can eat this by the tablespoonful without even adding water because I know what it is and I crave it. But it's so important. And one thing that really bothered me when other people were competing with me, and they'd come to my clinic and they'd say, if I lose a little more weight, I'll be faster.
Mm.
And then they'd look at me, and a couple of my sponsors said, if you lost weight, you'd look better in our clothes, because they were my clothing sponsors and everything. And I wrote an article called I forget what it was called, but it was about my role of resistance. And without it, there's no power. And I can attest to that now. You both look so blinking healthy and strong, and I look so completely wimpy, and I am compared.
I don't know about that, but
Yeah, couldn't do what you do. Couldn't even attempt it now. And I think I'd have to build up my body a good 20 pounds before I could.
Well, we heard you're signed up for the mile this year.
Oh, a mile, yeah. It's like I haven't been in a pool. I haven't trained for 15 years. And so I'll just do a mile, whatever, if I can.
it'll be fun.
It'll be fun. I hope it's not rough, because I have no sense of direction.
I'll be watching on the beach.
Yeah, right. Have you get ready for the Holder-Nielsen method of Sylvester Brosh, Holder-Nielsen, and mouth to mouth when I get out. One other question: when you compete, is there anyone who has ever pulled you by the leg and tried to stop you going forward? I mean, I'm talking poor sportsmanship here.
No, and I think it's because we don't do triathlons.
Okay.
No, I don't. That's never happened, luckily.
That's fantastic.
We've definitely gotten run over at some mass starts,
Yeah.
but not
just 'cause
intentional.
people
It's because
can't
there's
see.
200 people at a time starting at the bay swim in particular, and so. But that's all.
Is that California?
No, that one's
Chesapeake
in
Bay.
the
Chesapeake Bay, I was going to say.
Yeah, no, sorry.
You're chum for sharks over in
Yes,
San Francisco.
yeah.
It's like, let's swim to Alcatraz. Why didn't anybody ever escape? Oh, there goes my leg. I know. When you are swimming, do you wear a full bodysuit?
Just the Speedo.
You put Vaseline all over your body?
Put it on my shoulders and my armpits, and I've learned this time I might need to put it on my neck as well.
Because, why? With chafing?
A little chafing on my
With
neck.
from your beard?
I think so.
Wax
Or-
on, wax off.
I had just shaved. I think I shaved too recently, so it was, it was rubbing.
Speaking of shaving, I was giving a talk once to a bunch of triathletes in Oklahoma, and it was some very serious gentleman raised his hand and he said, "Do you think I should shave my body? Will it make me go faster in the water?" And I said, "Well, I wouldn't worry until the hair from your underarms gets caught in your spokes." And I thought that was hilarious, right? And he went, "Oh, okay." I went, "Oh, God, this guy has it bad." But you never see that in local, international races. People already know what they're doing. But I thought that was my best funny line ever. He didn't get it. It's like, okay, wait, let's put that in a braid for you and tie it behind your neck. It's like, I should not have a TV show. Forgive me, Melissa and Joe. When you got to Quebec, what was the response of the Québécois?
A lot of surprise and a lot of whys.
Pourquoi? You mean like why? Why do you do this, monsieur? I don't know why you did this.
Yes, and just confirming that that's in fact what we did.
How many
Really?
people?
From Newport?
How many people met you?
I want to say there was only a few planned people, and then maybe 8 or so just beachgoers who happened to be there at the right time. And luckily we didn't run over with the boat coming in.
Yeah, what kind of boat was it? A pontoon?
Pontoon.
And who was driving that? Phil?
Gary.
Gary Coburn
Really?
Thank you.
and Donna.
All night long.
Mm-hmm.
You left at what time? Midnight?
12:21. I was the third to start, so we left 10 minutes apart.
Nothing like those crappy group starts of 3 people.
Yes.
But you passed them.
Yep.
And they both finished?
Just one other.
Okay. That's all right. What was that time?
12 hours. She was about an hour and 10 behind me. I can't
That's
remember
fantastic,
exactly.
you
She
know.
did great though. But like you're saying,
She's from Mexico,
she's
right?
from Mexico, and like you're saying, we stayed to watch her finish because it was very exciting. Just to see.
I remember getting out of the water after my piddly little swims and trying to stand up. That was a joke. How about you?
Very bad. I cramped immediately, but luckily didn't fall over. I think next time I'll just roll onto shore.
Yeah, well, like, you put your arms down by your side, you flop on the shore.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, I'll do the seal method.
yeah. And how about you?
Well, I jumped off the boat and walked the rest of the way in so we could have a little celebration.
Have you been celebrating ever since?
Pretty much. We celebrated with Phil and Kathleen. We went back on the boat to see what Joe had swum so he could actually see it this time. And We were on vacation this week, so we've been doing what the kingdom has to offer, just with a little less energy than we normally might.
Yeah, but a lot of great attitude. Okay, as people are watching and they just can't wait to do it themselves, the week before, any big race, any distance race, how much tapering do you do? And for our audience, tapering is when you minimize your training to allow your muscles to relax. And some people who are just beginning think that that's, I'll lose all my training if I take a week off. What do you do?
I think we took 2 weeks of taper.
Gradual taper?
Yeah, we cut, or I cut the volume, so the distance we were swimming by.
Which was?
I peaked at 52,000 meters.
How many miles is that?
In a week, and that is 35, 33, something
Okay.
like that. I wanted to just get over the distance of the swim.
Yep.
And so I did 2 weeks roughly at that distance.
Okay.
And then the first week of taper, we cut that in half. So I did about 25, 20. And then cut that in half again for the last week and did 12,000 meters that week.
Yeah, just to keep toned.
Yeah, and just
And-
recover and feel the water. That was
Yeah.
the main thing.
How about your sleep patterns? Because to start at midnight after being a normal person,
Yeah, I thought about that. To do anything differently, I thought about it too late. So I didn't change my schedule or anything. I just figured best keep with my habits. I think I ultimately started staying up a little bit later, maybe when I was really in peak training. I was tired enough to go to bed at 9:30, and then by the end, I was probably up till 11:30. So,
You
real
sinner.
late. Yeah.
So you really just tried to sleep as much as you possibly could.
Yes, I was banking my sleep in advance, where basically no alarms, probably try to go back to sleep even after I woke up the first time,
okay.
try to take a couple naps. The day of, I took an hour nap, something like that, just to try to get a little bit.
Were you so nervous the day before that it was impossible for you to rest at all?
Not really. I think other than pulling an all-nighter, I liked the nighttime start because it meant that I didn't have to think about getting up early, which is usually what actually stresses me
Yeah,
out.
me too.
And so I
Me
was
too, Melissa.
able to sleep.
Oh yeah.
I don't do well with alarm clocks. I can stay up most of the night waiting for my alarm clock to go off if I have to. So I'm awfully glad I no longer work for an airline.
Yeah.
At which
Yeah,
point,
you have to be on time for those.
well, they don't have to be on time for you. Why do I have to be on time for them? But when I first met you, I was working for the airline, and I knew that fatigue was really a high part of working any job. And you work remotely. So let's find out a little bit about your professional life and what allows you to have the time to train. Melissa?
I work in policy. I work in healthcare policy, so I do a little bit of what Kathleen told me was boring policy work, but I also do a lot of bringing all the different people that care about an issue together to try to find a solution and move it forward with Congress or whatever government agency they're working with. And so, in healthcare, that's often you bring sort of patient groups as well as you work with maybe a hospital group, you work with folks that specifically care about maybe cancer and get them all together and be like, all
Why
right,
would
this-
anybody care about cancer? I mean, really? But seriously, what are some of the things that you've enjoyed most about that job? And what's the most frustrating? First things, what's good?
Well, we're actually going to start with the most frustrating because it's easy, which is Congress and politics. And if you've been paying attention to the news, you may realize that it's not very easy to get things done in DC right now.
You cannot live in Vermont and not be 100% submerged. And I mean submerged, speaking to two swimmers, in what's going on today.
Yes.
And how about you? What do you do?
It's easiest to describe it as consulting, but for colleges and universities, help groups of them at a time answer shared problems or questions that they have.
What's the biggest problem they have now?
Keeping enrollment going, more skepticism in higher ed, or at least at the 4-year level, and so trying
Definitely. Let's take 4 years and be in debt for 25.
Right. So
What do you
also
see as the
pricing.
solution of that? Because I myself, I don't know how kids do it nowadays.
No, we haven't solved it, and they haven't either. We're working on it.
If you had a magic wand, what would your solution be for the educational problems we're having today?
I mean, I like a system or a model with a lot more on and off ramps that are lower barrier, pop in when you need to learn something, get back out to work for, with what you've just picked up, things like that.
In Canada, the first university to incorporate internship, apprenticeship with the engineering program was McMaster University. And my brother was deciding where to go to school. And he wanted engineering like everybody else in my family. And he thought about that because he wanted the work experience. But my dad said, no, work for my company, work where I'm working in the summers, and get your degree faster at Sir George Williams, which was a university. So he had the option of working in my dad's milieu, electrical submersible pumps, sewage treatment, and Dad was in the office, but he sent my brother out with a truck and with all the workmen, all the French Canadian workmen who know how to go down that sewers and fix that pipe there. And he came home and he learned more working, and then he worked into the electrical engineering thing with schematics and everything, with the men who were already doing it than he did in school. So school, in effect, became very boring for Alan.
Mm-hmm.
And I am not a firm believer in 4-year degrees at this point because of the practicum. But I wish you luck with that, because unless it's less expensive, I don't know how anybody will be able to go and not just go and work for Dad's company or go and work for another company.
Yeah, I think you're right.
That's not very often I'm right, but if I am, thank you for that. We're into ego stroking today. But anyway, we got away from swimming, but we can get back to politics a little bit and the difficulty in Congress. What do you see in the next 6 months?
I think, well, the next 6 months are going to be pretty silly because because it's an election year, it's always between the summer and an election, it's all just sort of posturing and getting sound bites and that kind of thing. So there will hopefully be some opportunities for Congress to really come together and work together on some things towards the end of the year. Something I've been working on is there's a veterans healthcare package that they've been considering.
Is one party more pro your program than another?
In healthcare, in part because of the history of the Affordable Care Act, the Democrats have been much more bought in on improving healthcare programs and ensuring more people can access them. But there are some bipartisan issues too, particularly around reining in, big corporate greedy players that are making incredible profits without actually making people healthier. There is some more bipartisan efforts to try to rein in some of that.
It's not only in this country that's happening.
It's not only in this country, but it is particularly bad in the way we have our system set up.
I know. I'm from Canada, and I like the way France and Britain have set theirs up, but Britain's having some real problems with their socialized health care now, too.
Yeah.
But I get off subject, everybody who's watching. We can talk about swimming, we can talk about athletics, but I've never met a committed athlete who isn't totally engrossed in the rest of the world and making this planet a better place. And this young couple, who I've known for 3 years, has never ceased to amaze me in their forward thinking, which is probably another reason you enjoy Vermont.
Might be.
I think so.
It is a great state for you young people, and we love it when you come because we need you, and we need your brains, and we love your energy. So I'm thrilled whenever you come back. And with Phil White and his Kingdom Games, he's bringing people from all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you have to say about the organization Kingdom Games?
We love it. I mean, that's how we first started coming here, was because that's all we really knew about this area was the Kingdom Games. And it's just, I mean, back to community, that is the best community. The folks that run it and the folks that support it are a local, wonderful community, but it also brings this community that comes in from all over the world, as you said. We've met so many interesting people of all types, nationalities, really coming from everywhere to swim in your beautiful lakes and to enjoy the community that Phil and the Kingdom Games have built.
Yeah, well, that's good to know. What do you like to do in Newport besides swim?
Everything.
Come on, guys, narrow it down. Okay, the restaurants are fantastic.
Yes. The restaurants are fantastic. We've been to a lot of them.
Get a lot of maple creamies.
Maple creamies!
Had a lot of maple creamies. We go to Tim and Doug's very often.
Yeah, that's another thing that keeps the weight up. I used to have to eat sometimes a gallon of what they call ice milk. And I eat a gallon of ice milk with peanut butter mixed into it. And you know, nobody can eat that much, but I could.
Oh yeah.
And Tim and Doug's would have made my swimming career so much more delicious.
Yes.
Yes.
That's great. And you were just texted me from the Pick and Shovel. Is that what you
Yes.
were doing?
We were just happened to be right by it, but we have gone to the Pick and Shovel several times. We both like to shop there as well as just browse. There's always something we hadn't seen before in there when we go in.
That's great. We're gonna go help next week drop the buoys for the Kingdom Games, and we need to get some work gloves to do that. So we'll be back over there after this.
Really? Have you worn neoprene gloves when you're competing?
No, but I haven't done anything cold enough really where I've wanted to do that.
Are you coming back for a swim in February?
Maybe if we get some neoprene gloves.
Yeah,
We might start with
Kathleen knows how to get
volunteering.
them. If people don't know who we're talking about, I'm sure everybody who's local knows everything about Phil White, and he has now married Kathleen Marcel, and they are the dynamic duo who have organized the Kingdom Games. Phil started years ago, Kathleen came on board a few years ago, and love blossomed. So I don't know how anybody can fall in love organizing an event, but God bless them. And they make everything happen. There's also a parade next week that starts. This show, I hope, airs before July 26th. But next week, at the start of the real Kingdom Games, there'll be a parade on Main Street, or close to it, and there'll be about 6 or 7 people walking and floats, etc. And we will try and make it a spectacular 2 minutes of your life. And it's just to bring people together. And I don't remember how many people represent the countries of the past, but I remember meeting the national swimming champion of Egypt and a few others a couple of years ago from all over the world. And I've got 2 people staying here that weekend. And he called me once and he said, I can't talk to you next week, I'm climbing Kilimanjaro. And so they're showing up. And I said, what can I get in the house for you when you arrive? And he said, lots of bananas and maple syrup. So I'm going to stock up. You know, my cousins and my grandson make maple syrup, so they'll be getting homemade stuff. But I'll get a dozen bananas for each day. I eat 4 bananas a day, and I'm not swimming.
Yeah.
Yeah. How much fruit do you eat?
A lot.
Yeah.
Blueberries are my main. Every breakfast, every snack when it's cereal.
You buy them frozen in the winter?
We have some frozen ones on hand. Some friends gave us several gallons worth. And I'll use those in smoothies and sometimes in oatmeal.
Okay, for those of you watching, the greatest antioxidant in the world, the blueberries. And if you want to pick your own, do you know where to pick your own around here?
We've seen a few places.
Okay. It's where where the Kingdom Brewery is?
Yep.
Keep going.
Okay.
And then, I can't tell you how to get there.
We'll find it.
But that's where I go. It's called Kindred Gardens.
Okay.
And I think you head all the way. I'm sorry, everybody. I can't give directions unless I draw it because I have no sense of direction. But I'll tell you later. But it's called Kindred Gardens, and they have enormous half an acre of berries, and that's where I go. And they're the greatest, yummiest, and so well cared for, owned by a lovely lady, and it's all on the honor roll system. So you get a bucket, you pay for it as you leave in a little hut. Nobody's there, just, and just go for it. And I was invited to do that today, but I said I can't because I'm interviewing Melissa and Joe.
Maybe tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Well,
if you,
I'll go.
if you want to follow me out, I'm going to my daughter's after. You can follow my car and I'll show you where it is. But I don't know. What would you like to talk about? I'm not the greatest interviewer. What would you like to talk about?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I don't love being the center of attention, so it's hard to say for me.
All right, then let me bring it up. Speaking of center of attention, have you been offered any sponsorships?
No.
Why not?
Not that good. Besides, I got to keep in the amateur rankings, otherwise I
You
wouldn't
can
have the
stay
record.
amateur. You can stay amateur.
But if anyone wants to sponsor me on pasta, Nutella, maple syrup, we'll take it. But no one has.
Okay, your contact information will be put down here. And I'm telling you, I was sponsored, first by ASICS and then by other companies around, and it made a difference in my life because you're worth it. You've just set a record on Lake Memphre, a double country coup. And I'm glad you weren't doing laps of the lake because you wouldn't be here now, you'd still be out there. But if anybody wants to sponsor Joe, the contact information will be put beneath his name now by my editor, Kirk Kelby. And Jed's Maple, for instance. You're fantastic out there. And I don't think there's an actual peanut butter company here, but I wouldn't be a bit surprised if a good peanut butter company didn't get a hold of you, because it would be the greatest thing to have a Mr. Peanut shirt on your back. Or on your, or strategically placed on your Speedo. I don't know where they put it. But it would help you. And I know you're both professional, but you do an awful lot for the sport. You do an awful lot for this area. So I would like to see each of you sponsored. Okay?
Thank you.
We would be very grateful.
Yeah, okay. I'm seriously putting that out there, folks, for the 6 people who watch this show. But it also goes on YouTube, which you will have access to, and you can put that anywhere you like. And I am betting that you'll get a good sponsor out of this, because it's well deserved by 2 really smart, really lovely people who are doing an awful lot for Vermont and building a relationship between Quebec and Vermont. I'm from Quebec, I live in Vermont, and the more people we have crossing the border, the happier we all will be, economically and culturally. So what you've taken up there isn't just Delaware or North Carolina, where I'm sure your IQ goes down 40 points when you cross the border. God bless you.
We live in a college town.
Oh,
But beyond that, you never know.
you never know. Don't cut that, Kelby, it's funny. Do you know that someone in North Carolina is running for governor who doesn't want women to vote anymore?
Yes, we do know that, and that's part of why we have to stay there until the election's over, because we have some important voting to do.
Yeah.
I imagine there'll be a lot of women becoming men to vote in the future there. It's legal here. But it's a very frightening time. And when I was in the athletic circles, politics was always big on the agenda of conversation. A lot of us are fiscally conservative and socially liberal because it's none of our beeswax, and when we're busy training, we don't have time to judge anybody for what they do in their bedroom. We don't have any time to judge people what they do with their spare time. We're healthy, we feel secure, so we don't really feel so insecure that we run down another part of society. And that's what I like about the athletic community. That's what I like about the Vermont community in general. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what's next in your lives, but I hope you get a sponsor. I hope you come back every year. I hope you talk well of Vermont when you're away.
Sure do.
You sure do.
And bring more people. And I love you both very much. So thanks for being on Life is Good.
Thanks
for
for
all you
having
do.
us. Yeah.
It won't be the last time. And now let's work on getting you sponsors. Thanks for watching Life is Good, everybody. See you again next week. I'm blowing you all a kiss. And just keep strong, okay? Eat a lot, train a lot, be happy, and vote. Thanks, everybody.